Yes, how cute is that face?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I've got a little Monchi reference. You can see our goal, but I think you guys all also have these cute little Monchi pillows. So this is our model for today. So if you've got your supplies, that's great. I will kind of talk for a minute, and if you have a chance, you can use whatever. I'm going to do it digitally, but I'm going to draw it in a way that you don't have to undo or redraw, because I love to draw with marker a lot of the time. And a lot of that kind of inspired the feel of some of the look of the movie. So I'll be doing it digitally, but I'm going to kind of start in a way that you don't have to erase. So if you'd rather use pencils so that you can be sure what it looks like and ink it later, that's fine. But if you want to dive in with a marker or a crayon, feel free to do that too. Okay. Yeah, so Monchi, he's like one of our favorite characters. He's kind of like this wonderful, lovable mascot for the family, and like everybody, kind of this unlikely hero and kind of imperfect and flawed. The shapes are all really hand drawn. So for the nose, we'll start with that. We'll kind of start with whatever is most forward. So I just kind of draw this simple shape. It's almost like it's how you would draw a heart simply, but kind of with 3 little shapes to it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the fun thing about the whole look of the movie, is we were really trying to make it feel handmade and human made. So if things aren't perfectly symmetrical or perfectly made, that's great. That's what we were trying to chase in the computer. So that's his little nose. And then we'll just draw like a little kind of half circle around it. Monchi, all of his features are really scrunched together. So it's kind of important for him to like draw things in the order that they're forward in space. So we'll draw that. Then we'll draw his eyes. So I'll start with the left eye. I'm just going to draw a circle, and I'm going to try to end it where the nose line stopped. And then I'm going to go on the other side and draw another circle. So Monchi's got these kind of big wall-eyed eyes. It's kind of a part of the movie, right? That he can't look straight, he can't see perfectly, and then in the end of the movie, there's a moment for him to kind of shine and achieve this like clear vision that lets him have this kind of hero's moment. So whenever we draw Monchi, we draw his pupils really offset. So you can do it any direction you like, but like I'll make one looking down, and I'll do it, I'll color it in too, just make it black. Sometimes it helps if they're more on the outside to draw them a little bit more of an oval than a perfect circle. It helps it exaggerate the direction he's looking. So since I drew it on this bottom corner, on the other one, I'll do it the opposite angle. So I'll put it here at the top. And again, when you're drawing these, you can put them how you like. If I were to put one in the middle, the other one I might just maybe exaggerate more, and maybe it's more low to the side. It's part of what helps make Monchi look kind of funny, is this little wall-eyed character trait. So from there, I'm going to draw his mouth, these jowls. So I'll just start on one side. I'm going to kind of start the lower part of the eye, and I'm just going to aim to make a curve that's going to end lining up with the nose. So I'm just going to do a shape like that. And again, these don't have to be totally perfect, clean shapes. It's again part of the look of the movie that we want these kind of imperfect, irregular forms. And then I'm going to do one on the other side, starting from there and then meeting back up and ending at the eye. And once you've done that, we can go in, we can give him his little eyebrows. So they're not going to be too thick. Sometimes when his brows get kind of thick, he can look a little angry. So we're just going to give him little eyebrows, not too big, but they're going to kind of be curvy and full and follow the shape of his eye. We're going to leave a little bit of space in the middle of the nose and do a little curve. So from here, we can do the top of his forehead. So I'm going to try to do this in one line. If you want, you could do like a little kind of semicircle curve. It's nice when all of his shapes are kind of curvy, but he also has this little tuft of hair that works. So I'm going to kind of start drawing a curve but then I'm going to bring it and do a little curve in the other direction. I'll do probably 2 for little curves of hair. And then I'll finish that curved line. And the next we can do is ears, kind of like everything. It helps when they're kind of curved slightly different directions. They don't have to be exactly the same. So I guess I'll do a simple little, kind of like a C shape. We can start with that. And then I'm going to do another little curve coming out from that. So he's got this little dent in his ear. And then I'm just going to bring it around and kind of copy that first shape I'd started. So that's kind of getting his ear and the ear flap curving down. And then I'm just going to draw a little, it can be a straight line or you can curve it, but I'm just going to bring a line down. Yeah, and there's his little ear. For the ears too, you can do them. Sometimes I'll just draw them really quick and do little shapes. You can do a lot of things with them. So don't worry too much if it's not perfect. We could also try doing one on this other side. I'm usually going to have them coming up from behind his eyebrows. This one, let me try doing a little shape like this. And on this one, maybe I'll just add a little line to indicate the form. But they're kind of fun when they're kind of pointing in different directions and stuff like that. And let's get into finishing the mouth. So we'll give him a tongue. Monchi has a tongue. Sometimes we'll have his mouth open with a long hanging tongue. It's kind of fun if it goes off to the side. You can put it in the middle, to the side, long. But I'll do something, let me see, I'll draw kind of like a U shape. But as I come up, I'll just give it a little bend for fun. Sometimes it's kind of fun to give it some irregularity. It helps with his personality. You could also, if you wanted, you could do a really simple little tongue, like a little U shape. I think the important thing is to have fun with it. I think for us making this movie, we all love making art and have fun making art. And we wanted it to feel like that on screen, that you feel like this is celebrating characters like Katie and people that love to have art and have fun with it and express themselves with it. I usually too, for the tongue, sometimes I'll draw like a little line in the middle of it to give it a little bit of form. And then from here, you can finish up the bottom of his mouth with a little semicircle. So since his tongue's here, I'll just do it from underneath. You don't need to see the whole thing. And then on his little jowls, he's got these little hand-drawn kind of dimples on there. So those I usually draw just by doing kind of simple U shapes that loop together. 3 is probably enough. You can do more if you want. I'll give him another one. Maybe the bottom is a little smaller. And I will give him more on this side, just a few little curves. And a few little curves again. And now we can give him, after you've done that, you can give him some whiskers. Sometimes I'll just do a few, I stick them on the side. I'll just put a few little curves. And then on the other side, you do a few more little curves. And there's a little Monchi head. So we can do the whole body too if you guys want to try that. And let me know too. I hope I'm not going too fast. I know I'm used to drawing him often, so sorry if I'm going fast. One thing too that I'll take a break to talk for a second. One thing that's kind of nice about this style is we were just really trying to kind of make really lovable, appealing characters, but also kind of celebrate imperfection. Like when I was hopping into this, I was like, oh my, I irritated my hand. I was like last night just scrubbing my bathroom floor, trying to get these stains out of the grout with a toothbrush and working, and I irritated my hand. I was like, oh man, my hand's gonna be sore to draw. But I feel like that's so much of what the movie we were trying not to filter out. Like real people have real spaces and real homes and real life and all this stuff. And so like we are a little imperfect. And that's like why our characters kind of have these like wrinkly shirt collars and their hoodies have kind of the pilled fabric, because all of those things are like the signs of our life and things we like and love and stuff. So we were trying not to filter that out. So even I was realizing like, oh yeah, like I'm really proud that I got all those little stains out. My hand's a little sore and my lines might be a little less perfect, but that's kind of the whole thing we were trying to do with all of the shape language and stuff. And even though we make these movies in the computer, it's nice if you can feel a human hand. And that's kind of too why some of the look kind of feels kind of painterly and it all feels kind of hand drawn, is because we just love celebrating the human craft of making art. But anyway, so I'll hop into doing a little bit of a body. I might do him standing because it's kind of fun to see him as this little kind of loaf of bread character. So I'm going to end up drawing a body over to the right side. And he's kind of this, I'll draw over to the side to show you. He's a little bit of like a bean shape when we draw him. So, but I'm going to start to, for him, we wanted him to feel really full and these forms against forms. So I'm going to draw over here a simple little curve that's going to be at the connection of his head to his body. And I'm sorry, I am going to scale this so I've got enough room. Hopefully you guys aren't running out of space, but if you are, you could do a body on another drawing. But so I'm going to do that little curve, and that's kind of implying his neck area, and it's there to imply that he's really full, and this kind of full loaf of bread character. And then I'm going to kind of arch. I'll just do this quick so you can see this kind of curved C shape to kind of imply this part of this bean on his body. And then I'm going to come around and do a big curve down there. And then I'm going to give him another curve here that's kind of overlapping. Maybe I should draw on the legs first, but I think it'll be okay. So I'll give him a little leg. It could be a simple straight leg, but maybe if you want, you can do like a little tuft of hair and then a little straight leg. We could also just do little simple straight legs. For him, in his 3D model, we got rid of a lot of anatomy, and they're supposed to be these kind of like simple little legs, like simple drawings. So you can just do little straight lines. And then we'll draw kind of 3 little circles for his feet. And another 3 for his little toes. And let me give him another little one over here. A couple lines for his leg and these kind of little simple toes. And I'll give him another one. I'm kind of angling some of these lines too, just make it a little funny. And I probably should have drawn these first. Sometimes you make little mistakes, but if you have a pencil and you want to erase this, you can, but it's okay if you don't. And then we'll give him a little tail. So we'll just give him a little kind of half circle curve. And then we'll bring it around. You can always give him a little extra tuft of hair. Some of these little simple tufts of hairs help. And there's a little Monchi. So from here, we can color him in. He's not too many colors. If you've got brown, yellow, and pink, that's probably enough. So I'm just gonna kind of color him in with you guys. Doesn't quite matter where you start. I'm just gonna start on his little eyebrow area. So his eyebrows and his little mouth area are all brown. I'm doing this digitally so I could fill it in, but I'm just gonna kind of color it in like it were traditional media. In the movie, we did a lot of stuff like that too, where instead of using the conveniences of the computer tools that do things kind of perfectly, we tried to make them feel like they're handmade. So sometimes in like the texturing of clothes or maybe fur, we're trying to imitate what traditional mark making does digitally. Like for example, I just edited my tools in the computer, but when you draw traditionally, when they layer up, they get this kind of irregularity of pattern of the lines layering up. And we think that's really beautiful. So we tried to imitate that in the computer, and it's what a pen, what a marker, what a crayon does naturally. And so we just really like what that handmade stuff looks like. So a lot of the times in the computer, we're trying to imitate what you get naturally with traditional materials. I'm just gonna keep coloring. I'm gonna color his little ears. And while we're coloring too, if you guys have any questions, let me know. We can keep talking.
It's so amazing just to watch how this comes to life. I unfortunately am not an artist. And just to see how, a couple circles and a couple dots, and you add so much character and so much personality into.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can see his personality jumping off the page right now. It's just fascinating. And I agree. I love that it's not a computer generated because it feels more real. It feels like you can, I guess I said, it feels like he's just a character and he's so much fun.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Taddy, I think you had a question. Did you want to ask Lindsay?
Hi, Lindsay. This is such a fun session. Thank you so much. I was curious to know if you had a favorite Mitchell's character to draw.
It's hard. I like all of them for different reasons. I think Monchi is a lot of fun because he's kind of one of the funniest just being himself. Like when I was first designing him, that was kind of the challenge that I put on myself, is that I wanted to look at a drawing and it make me laugh. So there's something that's always been really fun about him. So maybe him and maybe Katie too. I think there's a lot about her. She's kind of our main character. So she was a really fun one to draw and design and get right. I think there's a lot of little specific details on her that really speak to her character. So those guys might be some of my favorites. Yeah.
I think Tessa and her kids have a quick question for you, Lindsay.
How did you get started as an animator?
I always, if I go back early enough, I always loved to draw. When I was around your age, probably I was drawing a ton. I would draw my own characters too. My parents were really supportive of the arts, and so I did a lot of drawing my own characters, trying to make my own little stories. I took art classes outside of school, where I kind of learned an appreciation of the arts and a little bit of art history about painting and stuff. And then I ultimately went to college for computer animation. And so there I learned a little bit more about what a job in animation was like. I should also say in high school, I went to one of the schools, Cal Arts, which is where the director studied. They had a summer program for high school kids. And so I went to that. And that was the first time I got to really learn about how to animate, because I hadn't really understood actually how to animate. I think it's nice now. There's a lot more access to tools, things online. When I was a kid, the internet wasn't what it is today at all. So there's always things to find. So I always looked for opportunities. My parents helped me look for opportunities to learn more about art and animation and the behind the scenes. I remember going when I was a kid to a mall and they had a Pocahontas animator there showing people how to draw Pocahontas, and seeing an artist behind the movies was really inspiring for me to see that people meeting people that do it. So it's great too that if you guys are in events like this, I think your parents are, if you want to go into the art, seems obviously very supportive. But yeah, so then I went to college for computer animation, and from there I got a job in animation, and that just kind of led to one job after the other to ultimately jobs doing character design, and then, you know, jobs doing production design, which was another one of my titles, which is just kind of being responsible for the look of the movie.
Thank you. Yeah, they both love art.
Yeah,
They draw their
I
own comic
actually
books all the time.
Yeah,
One
awesome.
time we went to this art. I actually remember one time we went to this art class, and I made this cool donut thing, and it was like a summer art class thing,
Yeah,
and it was like I think 4 or 5 weeks.
it was like a whole summer every week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's so fun. It's so fun, like getting different projects too. 'Cause it's fun to make your own art, but sometimes you're in these settings where you get an assignment or some project to do, and you do things you wouldn't have thought of, or maybe you try with a medium that you wouldn't have thought of, and or maybe with other people, and they might inspire you in different ways. So all of those, activities are super inspiring. It's super cool that you guys are doing that.
We also have a question from Michelle Carroll from Kid Congeniality for you. Michelle, you want to ask Lindsay?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Lindsay. Thank you for spending the time with us.
Yeah.
How long did it take to animate the movie from start to finish? I know it must be a huge undertaking.
Yeah, it's so the process from very start to finish, it was maybe 5.5 years. And that's not to necessarily animate it. You go through a couple phases. So the first few years were a really small team. Like the first year, it was just me and the director, basically, where he was coming up with the idea, and it was an idea that was on like 5 pages. And then I did character designs for it. And then he'd work and he'd write, and then eventually he had a co-writer. So the first year is basically him writing and working it out, and then I would help and do some art. Then we got some more artists on the team and storyboard artists, which are really valuable. And they'll take the script and they'll do simple, it looks like animation almost, but simple drawings, and they'll draw out the whole movie. And so then that process happens for another couple of years, maybe. And then you go into production. So the production is when you start bringing on the 3D team and animators. And that takes about 2 years, 2 to 3 years normally. I think on our project, it was about maybe 2.5 years. And that's when you're really animating it. And you're still sometimes working on the story, and the story artists are still working, and the art team is still working. But then you're a really big team with a lot of people. And that process is, like 2.5 years.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm actually going to take us off screen share because we want to see the creations that you guys did.
Oh, good.
And love to see what everyone came up with. And then, our film's writer and director, Michael, has joined us too. So we're going to loop him in so we can keep the conversation going.
Awesome.
Everyone, let's see them. Oh my God.
I love them. Oh my God.
Look at all the amazing artists. I'm so impressed.
So cool. I love these.
And every single one of them have such personality, just like Monchi.
I love them. They're so good.
I love that. Thank you, guys. It's so cute. Well, as I mentioned, we have Michael Rianda, who's the film's writer and director. And he, along with Lindsay, are going to answer a bunch of your questions. So I'm going to kind of go through and call on you guys, and we'll get every one of you to ask a question. So we're going to start first with Kathy Cupcake from Live with Kathy. Kathy, what are you impressed and got on store for us?
Oh my God, we love the Mitchell so much. He's watching it again right now. This is a movie that is on repeat in our house, and I don't know if you can hear Pal is about to come on and take over the world. But I wanted to know a few things actually. One is Monchi is honestly our favorite character, and I want to know, how did Monchi evolve into Monchi? How many phases did you go through to figure out this is the look we want? Because when the mom says, I think you can, and she tries to, and his eyes are, it's the best. It's absolutely the best, because honestly, that's my kid. It's like I always look at him and go, I know you can. I'm like, this is so relatable. So Monchi is not only the pet but it's another child in the family. So I wanted to know the evolution of Monchi and how you finalized this Monchi.
I can speak to the creation of Monchi, and then Lindsay can talk about designing this creature. Basically, Monchi is a real dog. Comes from a real dog named that was originally named Maggie, but then my sister changed its name to Monchi. She's like, she seems more like a Monchi. She's got a lot of chaotic energy. And Monchi was like very wall-eyed, and very was not quite as plump as the eventual Monchi. I think that the fatter dogs are, the cuter they are. So that was part of the calculus there. But the initial Monchi was just like really earnest and was trying her best and was not that good. Couldn't really do anything, had to go to the vet a lot, but we really loved her. And then so when we had the Mitchells, I really wanted to put a pug in a movie, and also a pug in a movie that looked like a real pug, because sometimes I feel like the pugs look kind of, they sand the edges off, but pugs are bizarre creatures that maybe shouldn't exist. So we just like let Lindsay rip into it, and she just started drawing 100 of the best pug designs you've ever seen in your life.
Thank you. I could actually screen share some. I was like, I think I've got this handy.
Oh, please do. They're the best.
Yeah. Oh wait, I don't know if I can actually anymore. But basically, yeah, it's like what Mike said. Mike always has like a great vision for how the character should feel, so it makes my job easy because I have like a good sense of like what their character is like what their personality is like. And for him, it was really, okay, there it goes. It was really getting the right mix of something that was like cute but lovable, and some we've played with getting these weirdnesses of the pugs, but some they get like a little too weird or too creature-like. So we've got some of these
sometimes
that are kind
they
of,
were tragic.
yeah, that was Mike would always talk about that. Like with him, it couldn't look too tragic or too mean. You know, you needed to really like love them too. So it's like we tried to get that balance, and some of that came with simplicity. Some of them there's a little too much information and stuff, and we found you can reduce a lot and it still feels like a pug. But we really just wanted him to feel really like joyful and funny, and he's a little silly. We looked a lot at like the postures of pugs and animals, and also just he's really kind of like this little plump character, kind of plump, squishy, doughy, bread-like. And
we also found that he also needed to always be smiling, because it made him seem like he was having a good time and he was okay with all this. Sometimes he would be like frowning and then like, it was like, oh, this
he's awesome.
He's scared.
He's awesome.
He really is awesome. And I agree. He is like another child. He's so cute. Our next question is going to come from Carrie Pittman and her girls with Living with Littles.
Hello. So my question is, well, actually, first of all, as much as this film has us laughing, it also had me crying, like through so many parts of it, the dynamics of children and teenagers and parents. It's just a struggle, right? My question is to you, do you have teenagers of your own that you related to in writing this movie?
Yeah, I think mostly ourselves when we were teenagers, just because it's like I sort of feel close to the 17-year-old version of myself. And I also wanted to point out, I only said it in the chat, but I saw these Monchi drawings. You guys are all hired. Whatever the next project is, you guys can do the drawings. These are so wonderful. But yeah, no, it's sort of, I think it was based on a lot of people. My sister is really funny like Katie, and sort of shares a lot of her sort of like, she kind of like, her and my dad would butt heads now and then, and I did think that was important to show, honestly, the realistic problems that families have, because I think it's easy to smooth over that stuff, but then you're not talking about real people anymore, because real people have problems with each other. And I think, and just in terms of like, teenagers and stuff, we were trying to sort of really get the excitement of like, oh, I'm moving to the next phase of my life. Because that was like, I remember how exciting that was. And it was like, anything could happen. I could be a skateboarder, maybe. Maybe I'll be in a band. Maybe I'll be a cartoonist, whatever. I picked the lamest of those three. But it was really an exciting time. So we tried to capture that excitement and optimism with Katie, as well as like how, you can really have legitimate problems with your family members, and hopefully model productive ways to work this out.
Thank you so much, Carrie. We have a question from Monica Young and her family from My Life is a Journey.
Hi, good morning. My niece, she doesn't speak a lot of English, but she wanted to know, with the DVD, now you have a lot of deleted scenes.
Yes.
But one of the deleted scenes that are here, which one would you have liked to be in the original film?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, the funny thing is, I love all those deleted scenes. They are my children, and I wish them the best, and I want them to go into the world. But I will say, I'm kind of happy they're all gone because even though I think they're really funny individually, and I'm proud of them, just watching them as a scene on its own. But I will say that taking them out made the movie better. The one that sort of like entertains me the most, because it's sort of the one that's the most different from the movie, is there's a scene where the family, as a family together, and I tried to write it as much like, it's like, you and your family and your kids and your weird uncle have to literally kidnap the president of the United States of America. But the movie didn't have, could not support that. It's the storyline. It was too like, it's too much of a weird left turn. But that's the one that I think is funny.
Amazing. Our next question is gonna come from Ella and Addison from Extreme Fun, and look at their version of Monchi that they have in their house.
Let me see this.
He's beautiful.
Oh, how cute are you?
Oh my
Ella and
God, the
Addison,
best.
unmute yourself so we can, oh, look at all the pugs coming out.
there's
Look how
more.
Oh
cute
my
you guys
God.
are.
Pugs.
That's
Pugs.
amazing. Ella and Addison, do you guys have a question for Michael or for Lindsay?
Yes, actually both of them. So how long did it take to make an animated film?
I will say it took a really, how old are you?
9.
Okay, you would have been 3 when we started. So more than half your life. It took a long time. I don't think they always take as long of a time. I think, because this is a movie about, it's not about X-Men. It's about my father, who is the farthest thing you can get from an X-Men as humanly possible. It was a big ask of the studio, which, like, rightfully so. They want to make sure that anyone's going to care about this weird story. So for a long time, we just had to prove that the movie would exist. And like Lindsay had already done this great work, and all of our team had already done this great work. And I was like, we have to make it, so this isn't all in vain. So we were probably only like really, really making the movie for the last 3 years. So that was probably how long it really took. But but the movie the whole time was getting better. And that is sort of like a lesson if your guys are making something. And kids are great because they never get discouraged. They're like, I made this drawing and it's wonderful. But I will just say, as you get older, don't lose that. Because I remember a time when I was like 8 or 9, and I got really aware that I wasn't as good at drawing as like the cool guys that do comic books. And then I got all weird and self-conscious, and I was like, my drawings are terrible. And I didn't draw for a long time, but your drawings are great. Any expression of your own emotions is wonderful, no matter what it looks like.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Such a positive thing. Our next question is going to come from Ashley Saunders from Ashley & Co.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Did you have fun making the movie? And
yes, absolutely. I think it was really delightful, and Lindsay can speak to this, but one of the most fun things is that you get to hire a bunch of people that then become your friends sometimes. And if they want to hang out with you, which when you're the boss, they don't. But it's really wonderful to work with all of them and hang out with them and kick around ideas, and they'll come up with things that surprise you. And that was the most fun part of it, is the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's really fun. Like, I always loved to make art, and I made a lot of art, and it was mostly by myself. Like, I'd make it with my sister sometimes, but it's nice when you're doing it as a job, like what Mike was saying, you get to build these teams. And so I had like an art team that had 10, 15 people, and they all became really good friends. I feel like I formed these really great friendships with other artists on the team and my other kind of art director and people. And so it's really fun to be able to make something better than you ever could on your own with other people. And then you end up forming these friendships that last after the movie, And when we watch the movie, we can see all of our friends in it. And so it makes it kind of extra special too.
Yeah, you can form your child friends together to make some sort of Voltron of creativity and then, make the world better with your art.
I love the Voltron reference. I love that. Our next question is going to come from Megan Cooper from Ja Monkey.
Hey there. So Katie Vision is one of my favorite aspects of the whole film. And can you talk a little bit about your decision to help have Katie essentially animate and tell her story in the film?
Well, can I talk about your amazing sweatshirt? It's wonderful and you're nailing it. All right. You look great. The hair, beautiful complementary colors. I love it. But no, Katie Vision was sort of an idea on a whiteboard because we were like, wouldn't it be cool to match? Because we were sort of like film students, we had no business making a movie. That's another lesson. You don't have to, if you really want to do something, just do it. Don't wait for somebody to be like, now you are allowed to do this thing. But anyway, Katie Vision. So we got really excited, like, what if we mixed 2D with 3D? Oh my God, it'd be incredible. And then we got distracted because it's really, really hard to make a movie good, just normally without any sort of bells and whistles. But then Lindsay sort of made this incredible test over the weekend when she was supposed to be doing other work, and everyone was mad at her because they're like, you're not hitting your deadlines, but you're like, I'm doing this other exciting thing. And it was really cool because we realized that it made us feel closer to Katie as a character. So it kind of worked in the story, that it was almost like she was editing the movie. So all of a sudden you felt closer to her, and you guys made all these like wonderful, where you got to literally just like draw on the screen and stuff, right?
Yeah, totally. It's like, it was something that was kind of talked about, and I was seeing, because I'm working closely with the art and the look of the movie, and then there's the story team, and whether it was like seeing their like ideas for Katie's videos and conversation with Mike and Mike's ideas, it felt like it was so important to see Katie as a filmmaker. And so when we were figuring out and kind of getting this whole studio to kind of agree with the look of our movie, it felt like we had this missing piece. So we had the look of what our human world is and its imperfect look, and then this kind of slick, cool, bold robot look. And it always felt like there's this Katie world to address. And so we had a lot of ideas from seeing these kind of fun puppet videos and all these explorations that the story team was doing. And so I kind of found this way to let's bring that into those moments, but also throughout the movie, can we have 2D animations pop up throughout to really enhance that feeling of her? And we kind of worked on how do we kind of have a plan of how it is charted all throughout the movie, so it's always kind of supporting her story. And so then once we kind of talked about that and talked about how it supports her emotional core, I think everyone got excited about it. So it was something that then we knew we wanted to do throughout, and it was a lot of fun. And we built a lot of little puppets.
These are some of the puppets.
Yeah.
This is used in the actual movie, even though it's made on cardboard. This is Katie's. Her pupils have been lost to time. And then this is the pterodactyl, which you can see, we always talk about this, but it has these, its hands are these little forks that we stole from the cafeteria, because we didn't have any money to make puppets. So we just did stuff like this. But it was really cool, and it sort of like, it made us get in the headspace of like, somebody with only a few dollars to go to Michael's on the weekend and make some weird stuff. So and that's another part of it that's cool, and sort of like reminds you of what's great about being a kid is you're not like, oh, is this the official way that someone needs to do something? It's like, no, it's fun. That looks funny. Look, it's a weird cheese ball with a face on it. I don't know. Next thing. So I guess to say, I would don't be ashamed of your ideas. They're cooler than you think they are.
Yeah, and part of the spirit of some of this stuff too, it's like I think there was a time that it was like, oh, we're not going to be able to do this with live action puppets because that's a different division or live action. We can't do that. But with technology, things are so accessible, and we have like a layer of that in the studio with like, I use my camera and we put it into After Effects. It's even way more accessible than that because you can film things on your phone. There's apps that are way more affordable than even the ones we're using. So it's like, that's that spirit that we're tapping into, because we talk about cell phones in our movie, and a big part of that is like the creative stuff you can do on them. And so for you guys too, what you can access with filming something on your phone, bringing it into another app and making things, it's like that spirit of like what you can do now, what you can access with technology to make your own stories, make your own films, is something that we were kind of playing with. And it's fun, you know, if you guys are interested in that, to take that spirit too to your own work.
It's fun. Just do it on a weekend, and even if it's not good, you'll still have fun making it.
Great. Okay, our next question is going to come from Janice Seitzer. Jana, you with us still? Oh, there you are.
Yes, it just took a second to unmute.
I like
so my question is kind of a little bit of an add-on for what Lindsay was just talking about, and sort of had it earlier when she was talking about animation, but I know it looked like she was using an Adobe tool when she was doing her drawing. Adobe tools are obviously not inexpensive, but if you have kids that want to learn or teens that want to learn, do you have recommendations for tools that they could practice digital animation or digital drawing with that maybe wouldn't be quite as expensive? Or some of the, I know Adobe has some sort of beginner tools that you might, you know, recommend that's a good one for them to kind of start with, just because we all know Adobe, you know, products are not inexpensive for cloud. And, you know, I've purchased the, you know, owning the whole suite way back when you owned the whole thing before you joined the cloud service, and it's, you know, a pretty chunk of change. So
yeah, I've gotten into, I got an iPad recently, which I know also isn't like super cheap, but I know a lot of people have them. But Procreate on the iPad is wonderful. I just started getting into it recently, and I forget, I think it's like $10 or something, a one-time thing.
Here's my Procreate.
Hey,
wow.
good.
That looks good.
Fired.
I highly recommend that. And probably as is, lately I've gotten into like getting paper, like magnetic screen protectors, because they make it a little bit more like drawing traditionally. And I just recently got this big board that you could insert it into, so you can kind of really get in there and draw on it. This thing called like Sketchboard Pro. But Procreate's a great tool. As far as animating, I don't know if it's as robust, and I'm not sure what the best animation ones are, but there are really competitive app software now for sure. I use Photoshop for work. It's kind of like a work standard, but lately I have been using Procreate for work too. It's definitely a professional tool and accessible for kind of beginners also.
Well, and I think a lot of people have iPads, even if it's not necessarily the inexpensive tool option. So the app for it's not necessarily like that part's an inexpensive add-on if you have it. So.
Well, and I think we started before you know, a lot of these apps and stuff have come out, you know, sort of like, so since we've been professionals, I don't know what the like cool thing for people is, but I will also say that it's like, you know, it's okay if the program isn't perfect, you know, as long as you can do something on it, you'll sort of learn and sort of have fun. And I think that, and I also think that one of the nice things, it's like iMovie, just, you know, if you're just want to make a movie on your phone, just make it on iMovie. It's free if you have a Mac. Because it's really simple, and it'll, even though your movies won't be like unassailably professionally edited, you know, I think they're good enough for YouTube. So I would just say don't sort of like anything is good at first, you know, and then sort of as you get a taste for it, as your kids get a taste for it, you might sort of like want to like it could be a good birthday present or Christmas present or something. Is like the more advanced version of that.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you guys. Okay, our next question is going to come from T and her daughter Tegan. T.
Sorry about that.
Oh, perfect. Gotcha.
Hi, so I was wondering what inspired or what was the thought process for the soundtrack of the movie, because I really like the music.
Oh, great. I love the lovely music. The inspiration was just songs that I love or songs that we love, because I think that's sort of the overall sort of philosophy of the whole movie is like make it as bursting with love as we can possibly do, because sometimes a music cue would fit for a moment, like either emotionally or whatever, but I just didn't like the song, you know, or like we didn't like the song as a group. And it was like, we just wanted to fill it in with every song that we loved ever. And then sort of narrowed it down to the ones that worked for the moment and didn't. And it was really cool working with like Alex Leahy, who was just an artist that we loved. And then we worked with her on this ending song, and she did such a great job with it. But that was fun too, because we got to sort of like call out for people whose work we liked and see if they wanted to collaborate with us. And that was like, it was really fun to work on.
I agree. I feel like the music is another character of the movie in a way. It's really, really fantastic. We have another question from Tessa Smith and her cute, adorable family, including her pug.
Yes. Khaleesi, our one-eyed pug, he's very loud. So.
Oh my God. We love him.
She starts to snort. I apologize. First of all, love the movie. It's still my favorite animated film of the entire year. It held through the whole year. Thank you. I'm sure it's not you.
So thank you.
well, I want to say thank you for putting my quote on the poster, even though I'm sure that wasn't you.
Hey.
It's very exciting. I would love to know.
I think
you
she
know.
wants to show her face.
Oh, she wants to see her face. Okay. I would love to know that. She's like, don't let me out.
She's being coy.
It feels like pretty immediately everyone loved this movie, like I said, us included. And I would love to know how that felt when it was like immediately fresh on Rotten Tomatoes and just massive, massive fans.
It was the best. Because just because especially me and especially the sort of group of filmmakers that were sort of responsible for the movie and stuff, like we're so audience focused. Like we are happy when the audience is happy. So we tested it a bunch and we wanted to make sure that all the jokes landed and that all the emotions landed and stuff like that. And sort of like I'm really not a filmmaker, or none of us are, Jeff, Chris and Phil, who are like, we'll make what we want and let the audience sort it out. So we're like, I hope you like this thing we made. So for us, it was very validating. Lindsay, how did you feel?
I know it felt so good. It'd been so long. We talked about how long it took to make, and Mike and I were working on it since 2015. So I felt so close to it that I couldn't see it with fresh eyes. Like I didn't know what it's like to watch this movie for the first time, and I believed in it. And we'd seen test audiences, and it seemed like that went well. So we're like, I hope this goes well, but you just don't. It's hard to see it with fresh eyes. So letting like the world see it with fresh eyes. No, it was crazy, and it was so surreal to like. This is my first time in a big like a leadership role where I'm very involved with like who the characters are and how they look, and seeing fan art. Like we were looking a lot online at like fan art or people doing cosplay and seeing a ton of it, and it was super surreal and so meaningful. And we were, a lot of us were like texting back and forth like messages that we were seeing, and it was very like touching and very surreal. It was the coolest thing. Yeah, we're super happy with seeing how it relates to people, because that's what's so cool about working on these movies is they have such a huge audience. Like you get to make art, but it gets to like connect with people, and that's like this cool ingredient that we hadn't really seen for like 5 years. And so it's been great.
Well, it's amazing. Seriously, congratulations, guys.
Oh,
thank you.
It's got to be amazing to finally see all your hard work come together on the big screen, and people love it. We have a question. We have a question from Christy from Lights Camera Mom.
Hi guys, and actually it's kind of a perfect segue off of Tessa's question, because I agree, our family loves the movie. We just watched it again this morning, and and even on the back, best animated movie of the year, all those accolades. Do you guys feel like there's more Mitchell stories to be told? Is there any hope for more Mitchells in the future? Because we're hoping so.
Okay, well, there's a couple things. One, on the very Blu-ray you're holding. Also, how's it looking in there? I haven't seen it on the inside of one yet. So if any of you have it open, let me see it. But anyway, yes, I mean, in the very Blu-ray you're holding, there is a Katie made short that is basically like a continuation of her story, and like going to college and meeting Jade and all that stuff. And it's great. And then also, if you pause the movie at a certain frame, I'll let you guys figure it out. There are a list of sequel options. There's like 25 different sequels. So vote for your favorite. Or maybe, you know, you and your family can like make that on a weekend and see if it'll be cool. Maybe you could make, you know, the Mitchells versus the army of clones, you know, using a bunch of trick photography and mirrors and stuff. And then sort of there's always conversations and stuff, you know, about what's happening next. And I might not make it myself because I'm tired, but there's a lot of great artists like Guillermo Martinez and wonderful artists who got their start on the Mitchells who have that story in their DNA and hopefully will be interested in making one of those, one of the 25 we listed, including one called Oops All Furbies, which might be it. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I can't wait to find that. That's gonna be so fun to look for.
Great. Our next question is going to come from Carolina from What She Says.
Hi, thank you for having me and for showing us how to draw this. I am not an artist, so I'm not going to show it. No.
What are you talking about? Look at your background. You're killing it. Blues.
There we go.
So cute.
My question is, so the cast is amazing. Like, I mean, you guys have an incredible cast. And so what was the process of finding the right people to match these characters that you, I mean, you know, have grown to love and know and create? So how was that process and how was the making of the film with these incredible actors?
Oh man, we so lucked out. I mean, like we got, you know, because like Abby Jacobson is all of the things that Katie is. And she's also an amazing actress. Like it's like she went to art school. She grew up in the Midwest. You know, like she you know eventually ended up successful and all that stuff. Like so all of her improvisations that she would come up with were really natural and like could just fit right into the movie because she is that person. So that was really fun. You know, Danny McBride was wonderful as Rick, and that whole sequence of him staring. You know, we're going to make constant eye contact. You know, all that stuff is just Danny, started as just Danny in the room, just being like, keep your eyes, hey, no, you don't have to squint. Just look at me. You know, Monchi's got it. There you go. Like all of that stuff was just sort of said in a room. And then we built a scene around it. And it was really fun. Maya Rudolph was wonderful. Olivia Colman is like the world's greatest, like every time we recorded with Olivia Colman, this is going to seem like it's like I'm being hyperbolic, but this is a 100% fact. Every time we recorded with her, someone in the room would be like, oh my God, she's incredible. You know, and whether that was like Chris and Phil, who've worked with hundreds of great actors and stuff, you know. So it was a real joy. And sometimes it would be really nice. And I wish we brought the actors in sooner so we could have done more of it. Because the actors came along about, you know, when we started making the movie for real. But I wish they were here earlier so they could have informed the characters more in the script phase, you know? But there were ways to sort of bounce back and forth and use their funny little improvisations. And like Maya was always singing. So we got like some like singing stuff. And if we were to do a sequel, I would, you know, just have a Maya Rudolph karaoke you know, explosion because she's like the world's best singer. So yeah, that's the answer.
Great, thank you so much. Amy Fulcher from As the Bunny Hops. Amy, do you have anything for us?
Well, yeah, I would love to talk Easter eggs because we got to talk to you before, Mike, before the film was out. And I know animators love to stuff the film through. I'm wondering, are there any that are still hidden that you haven't seen brought out yet?
Oh, that's a great question. I you know what hasn't been, and some of the stuff, you know, because when you're making something in 3D, you meticulously like design, like say you meticulously design a wallet like this, but then in the shot, you only see it at like this angle, but there's all kinds of cool stuff on the wallet. So if you could extract it and look at it up close, you could see what it, I've run Stampy well. You could see what it is. So Katie's on Katie's laptop, there's like a bunch of weird film references. Some to really obscure Swedish movies that we love, and some to like more, you know, sort of obvious movies. So if you look really hard on Katie's laptop, you can see some of those. And there's also that is the number one thing, I think. And also I think there's a reference to Wes Anderson movies on Katie's backpack that I haven't seen anyone make yet, but is really obvious if you know the movie. and you're looking for it. So those are a couple.
Awesome. We're running short on time, everybody. So if you haven't asked a question and you really are dying to, please chat me in the chat function. But we have our next question is going to be coming from Taddy from Cool Mom Cool Tips.
Hello again. Thank you so much for this wonderful movie. I have to echo what everyone's sharing because we truly enjoyed it. And visually, it was very impactful for me. Somehow it took me back to when I was in high school drawing all sorts of things all over the place. And my room was a big collection of junk, like the movie somehow feels like, so, but in a beautiful way. So I was very curious to know if there were certain influences that brought this type of drawing to life. I know Lindsay had shared that you were celebrating imperfections, which is another beautiful layer to the movie. But visually, did you have any specific influences to bring this to life?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was one of the things that we got really excited about early on, is that we could pull influence, because oftentimes there's like a lot of animation movies like have the same influences where it's like, oh, with Disney movies in the past and stuff like that, which are wonderful. But we were like, let's have crazy influences from all over the world. So we were trying to be influenced by, teenagers' drawings. Lindsay had a friend that did these really cool, weird, teenage drawings that we were looking at. And like, James Terrell is an installation artist who's very fancy, who would blanch if he knew that our dumb cartoon was using his $1 million installations. And Lindsay found a bunch of great photographers that we really loved. Like who are some of the
there's like a bulk of them that are like photographers from like early color photos, where I think it wasn't as like thought of as tasteful or something, but like Stephen Shore, William Eggleston were a couple big ones, and a lot of them, like Stephen Shore had a book too where it was like his travels across the country and he's documenting where he's staying and like a photo on the wall or the toilet, and it had that kind of spirit, like the food you're eating, kind of before that was like a trend, but like the food you're eating and as it is, and things that were like or this kind of early color photography, but things that felt really observed. We looked at a lot of photography. Mary Frey was one of them, Thomas Struth, the people that are capturing photos that feel, it's like the closest reference point to like your actual home photos, because we were just trying to make it feel really real and not feeling like, sometimes art is like a really beautiful portrayal of something, and we wanted like art like marks on things, but the feel of it to be something that's more like a home photo that's imperfect, and then put some strokes on it. Sorry, go ahead.
One thing that no problem. One thing that was really cool that Lindsay did is that she would tell her artists, like, don't Google bedroom, don't Google teenager's bedroom, because you will see this gorgeous Etsy bedroom. She's like, just go on Craigslist and Google teenager bedroom, and then you would see real teenager bedrooms, and they were always a disaster.
yeah we look at like real estate listings, or like if we were designing a couch, it was like, let's go to Craigslist, let's go to Michigan, that's where it's set, and let's see what couches are for sale, because that's going to be a better idea what couches are in your house now, because you usually don't have things that you bought at the same time from the year you're living in. Likely you have something that's old, or maybe it's a hand-me-down, or and that's something we're trying to celebrate, of like human stories, because like maybe the couch that your mom gave to you can't find quickly if you're looking for images of couches, but there's a story there. Maybe there's memories and stuff. So that's what we're always chasing.
Well, thank you guys. We're going to end here. We appreciate all of you. Thank you to Michael. Thank you to Lindsay for taking your time. Thank you all for spending your Sundays with us right before the holidays. And please don't forget that The Mitchells vs. the Machines will release on digital, DVD, and Blu-ray on Tuesday, December 14th. Thank you guys so much. Have the wonderful, happiest, healthiest, safest holidays.
Thank you so much. And remember, 3 hours of bonus material, shorts, a new Bonanza cut, feature commentary. We got it all, people. Get that DVD.
Vote for your sequel. Vote for your favorite sequel.
And vote for your favorite sequel.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your drawings and bringing your plugs.